Hi, it's Carra Riley, and welcome to the Transition Living Real Estate Team, episode number 3. Today, we're going to be talking about taking the fear out of major transitions in moving with real estate and using a contingency clause. Fear is such a big factor in all of transitions in life, and knowing how to handle it and being calm about it is going to make it much easier, and we want to bring fun. So we're here in the Cosmic Computer Cave, and you can see right over there our little monkey, Peace Monkey, and you can see the characters from the Cosmic Cow Pie as we try and help people transition and have fun with what we're doing and moving across the country or across the city. And the Transition Living Real Estate Team is an organization of real estate professionals across the country who are dedicated to helping people in transition and taking into consideration their whole life picture. It's not about the one transaction or the sticks and the bricks, because as we move through life, that we need to have help, we need to have a support system, and we need to know the resources that can help people make the move and have fun doing it. So today I'm going to put Margaret up here. Margaret Rome is an author of Real Estate the Rome Way, and she is the owner of Home Rome Realty in Baltimore, Maryland. She is a fantastic blogger for many years, the host of a radio show on Sunday mornings of WCBM, all about real estate. Margaret, over 30 years of helping people with a passion for your classic clients. I'm so excited to have you here and help us work through the fear. What's going on in Baltimore?
I am delighted, but I'm not 30 years. I'm just 26 years, but I'm getting there.
Oh,
and
okay.
I am, and they have been 26 glorious years of helping wonderful people buy and sell and make these dreams come true. And what we're talking about now is what we have called our classic clients, Cara. Our classic clients, we do not believe in the word senior citizens or old people, or et cetera. Classic clients, and we really need to help them get over the fear, meeting with them. What are they really afraid of? Helping them make the decision. Is this the right move? Are you moving because it's your family wants you to move? Are you moving because of financial reasons? Are you moving because you want to move? Are you moving for health issues? And until you find out the reasons and then continue to find out what their fears are, I don't think we can help them. You can't just decide one day I'm going to move after you've been living in the same place for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So I think I love what you're doing. I'm so proud to be a part of this and how we help our senior clients make this transition and hopefully take some of that fear out of them.
Oh, Margaret, what a great way to start. And so here we are having fun, because sometimes we actually feel like we are behind that 8 ball with the who's your monkey and just navigating all the cow pies in the idea of transition. And so here we have our cosmic cow helping us move towards this transition. And I think this is us. Here we are, just putting our clients in there, in that little basket, and just transitioning through the changes, because many people, it doesn't matter if you're trying to get out of your parents' basement, if you're trying to move up because you want to have a family, it just seems overwhelming. The transition and all the things that you have to connect with doing your job, getting family members to the places they need to be. And then we have this fear of moving somewhere else where we've been in our comfort zone, whether we're going to a 55 plus community, whether we're going to an independent living, or are we really set up for the condo living. So this, Margaret, I think is the key that we started talking about, is what are the biggest fears? And I really appreciate the fact that you've said to ask people. So those who are listening to this archive to start thinking about a move, write down what your biggest fears are, because being able to share them with others that are going to be your support group is very important. Unsure of the future, how to plan a transition, what health issues, finances, loneliness, making a change, not knowing anyone, what is a government change is going to do, making that right decision, all of these. And the biggest one is not being in control, I think. So when you have this right team, you know what it is you're going to do, and this is what we're going to be talking about. And fear has been defined as false evidence appearing real. So we have this big animal or big ominous kind of thing that we're overcoming, and how can we handle it? And there is a simple answer, that understanding all aspects of a transition takes away the fear. It's knowledge is power, right, Margaret?
Oh, absolutely. You know, so many times I get the call from one of the children, they're grown adult children with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, who want me to go and sell their parents' home. And I have to say, whoa, do your parents want to sell their home? Let me talk to them. In fact, what you have to really do, Carra, is find out who's the decision maker. Sometimes when you sit down and you talk with the classic clients, as we call them, and I do love our name classic clients, because they are such special people and we can learn a world of knowledge from them. But I have talked to kids and they say, oh, my parents want to move and they have to do it quickly because they're not feeling well. And then I go over and meet with the kids and they say, I don't know how to calm my children down. We are very comfortable where we are. Maybe we'll consider moving, you know, in a year or two. So you've got to, every time you meet with the clients or with the kids or with the family, that you continually ask, what are your concerns right now? As I was telling you before, when I moved my mother from a home that she'd been in for, I guess, 40, 50 years, and moved her to Baltimore, and I watched, you know, pack the house up and say goodbye to friends and et cetera, and come into a new place and meet new people. And I walked into her new place and I said, Mom, what's your concern right now? I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know, how much pressure she had on her. And she said, I don't have enough artwork to hang on the walls. And I thought, oh, what a fabulous, fabulous problem to have, not a problem. So, you know, we just don't know if we don't ask. Now, somebody else may say, oh my gosh, you know, all the other heavy duty problems that go with the move, but ask. And sometimes it can be just that simple as, you know, find me a picture to hang on the wall.
Margaret, I'm so glad that you shared that, because it really is about communication. It's about being able to say what you think and what your fears are, because that is something that society really doesn't do very effectively, because people hide it. And when you get to that classic situation, and you've always been the fixer, okay, and many parents have been the fixer, sharing their anxiety or sharing the fears that they're feeling with changes physically and changes financially, it's hard. So I think that key in talking about the fear is really, really important. And when we bring this back, once you've gotten through the, yes, we need to make this transition, or we'd like to consider it, because Margaret, we're here for people, whether it's tomorrow, a year from now, or 5 years from now. That's kind of the feel that we want people to have, so that they just start thinking about it now So if an event happens, and that's what one of the authors that I've had on before talks about, that an event will happen, someone falls or health changes, and then we're in crisis mode rather than planning mode to say, here's maybe what we'd like to do. So Margaret, on contractually, when someone has made that decision, we've gotten through the family and they're ready to make that move, what do you do with a client with contingencies to take some of that fear away?
Okay, I think frequently our classic client, the fear is when they have to move everything out of the house. I have had recently someone who their concern was, I'll never get the house packed up. And one of the contingencies that I did with that one is we found an investor who would buy the property, and we wrote into the contract that and they could take anything that they wanted from the house, any and everything they wanted, and anything that they did not want, they could leave it, and the investor would take care of cleaning the house out. That's a very unusual situation to have. This was an older couple. This was somebody who was not well, who the house had gotten away from them. There was just filled with stuff, and they were in a panic and didn't want to move. As soon as I said to them, what if we could get somebody to take it as is and you don't have to pack it up? They were perfect. We found that kind of investor. We found that kind of buyer. They were able to take every single thing they want, leave everything else, and move on with their life. And it was such a wonderful feeling to take that fear, which who would have thought about, writing that as a contingency into a contract. And I think, Carra, we as real estate agents, as you said, are not just selling sticks and bricks. There is so much emotion that goes on with this. And you with your background and me with my nursing background, I think we are so sensitive to our classic clients and finding out what that fear is and then figuring out how to alleviate that. We can do that with contingencies. If you're afraid that your house is going to sell and you don't have a place to go, then we write a contingency in that you are not going to have to move until you find a home of your choice. The verbiage has got to be very clear. Home of your choice. And you have to be aware that there are going to be other agents that say, absolutely not. I'm not going to show a house with a contingency with a home of choice. You have to be able to handle those kinds of situations because many agents won't even consider that.
And Margaret, I just put up on the screen the contingency that you're talking about, which is the listing contingency. And of course, each individual real estate agent, each individual broker's office will have their contingencies that are approved technically and legally for their area. But the concept is the same no matter where you would be, that the contract or the listing agreement could be expressly conditional upon the seller, whoever is selling their home, contracting and closing, or settlement, as Margaret, isn't that your term in Baltimore, settlement?
Our new word is now consummation.
Consummation of the replacement housing. And then here's the key. The closing and possession to coincide and be concurrent, or the contract's null and void. And this, just like Margaret said, the issue with is working with other real estate agents who may not understand the contingency or want to work with it. And that's what I want our viewers viewers to understand is that different parts of the country, different market times, this is just a door to open and see what we can work through. And just going back just a second, Margaret, to where you were talking about the fear and the organization, because I think I really want to touch on that of people and the 40 years or the 30 years in one house and their messes having to do it. One of the things we have with the Transition Living Real Estate team is a list of resources that can help sellers or buyers in transition. So we have professional organizers that can be hired that can actually even go through every single piece of paper in a folder, get all your passwords together, can sort things to give away, to donate, to sell at a consignment. And we have one consignment store, just going a little farther from your people who the investor bought with everything in the home. What a great idea for investors that we have a consignment store where they'll come, pick out, cherry pick the things that could be sold, and it can either go to your favorite charity or that income can come to you, but then they'll also remove everything else. So we have services that can actually take away that fear, because it is overwhelming to think that you need to go through all of that. I know when we moved and my mother passed, I went through the house and just cherry picked the things that I wanted and left the grandkids were able to go through and either have a garage sale or do what they wanted. But that was so helpful to me to just be able to say, I can't deal with all of this cleaning out and going through everything, but I do want to have these special memories. And Margaret, while you're right there, let's share with our viewers your cherry bowl that's behind you.
Oh my good. Okay. Can you see this piece?
Yes,
right here?
We can see the cherry. It's beautiful.
My dear, wonderful husband, who passed away 2 years ago, used to sit in our backyard and eat cherries. And there was a weed growing out in the yard. And that weed, after 45 years, turned out to a giant, giant cherry tree, which just had to be removed because it was bad. There's a stockpile of wood out there. I gave a chunk of the wood to our son, and he in turn, no pun intended, or pun intended, turned this bowl. So instead of losing the cherry tree, I have this beautiful turned cherry bowl that says the Lee Rome cherry tree. And it sits very prominently here on my desk, and I'm very proud of it. And I think of our son, and I think of the cherry tree, and I think only of good memories. And going into that, Carra, one of the things that you say, which I absolutely love when you go through, quote, cherry picking the things, is the happy things. Instead of talking about all the things that we have to get rid of, just walk into the room and say, what things do I absolutely love in here? What things do I want around me? What things can I take with me that makes me feel good? And if it's overwhelming, sometimes, as you've seen, we can put, like a mass of photos or pictures, maybe get somebody to photograph them or put them on a disc or make a collage out of it, so that you have that there instead of the boxes and boxes and boxes of things. So there's, again, the happy things that you want to take with you, not all the stuff you have to get rid of. It's just another way to think about this. And I thank you for enlightening me with that. And your Transition Living Real Estate team is the best idea. I mean, we all have these people around us as our support system, but you've actually put it together and say, hey, classic clients, look at this service we have to offer you.
Well,
I have a bookkeeper who I don't open mail. And she goes into people's homes and estates. She loves to see a pile of papers and mess, the things that we hate, and she's just a pig in mud going through it. So I think if you find the right real estate agent, that's the most important thing, who is sensitive. Find out what your needs and what your fears are. If you tell me what your problem is, I can solve it. I've got to get to that concern first. Just to say, it's too much, I'm depressed, I can't move, I can't leave. Let's break it down to what is it today that you're worried about? Let's take care of this one today. I have to keep doing that, sometimes more than once a day.
Yes.
And your clients have to feel comfortable to be able, Carra, to know that you're not only their employer, their employee, that you are actually, you're working for them. You are the hired help. But being the hired help that we are here to help you through these things. And if you decide, maybe you don't decide, but look, I've never been through a transaction that somebody hasn't had some kind of a mini breakdown.
Yeah.
whether it's the buyers or the sellers or the real estate agents.
Death, divorce, and moving, top 3 stress levels.
There you go. And we deal sometimes with all of them, death, divorce, and moving. So just the moving is enough to knock you off your feet. And I think so many people just think, well, they moved, what's the big deal? Everybody moves. It's just like, well, they got divorced. What's the big deal? Oh, well, she's not the only one that lost a spouse. It is such major, major life changing. And this transition living real estate team that you've got is fabulous. Tell us more about it.
Okay, well, it's people that are interested in really helping the whole picture and getting back to the fear in contracts and contingencies. When you sell and you're going to purchase something else, whether it's an independent living community, whether it's a golf course community, whatever it is, taking that fear away, there's 2 contingencies that we've talked about. One in when you're selling your home, to have the contingency that says, if I don't find my right dream home, I don't want to do this. Okay, so that takes all of the anxiety out of there. Now on the purchase contingency, and again, each area is going to be unique, that the purchase is expressly conditional upon the successful closing of your specific house, 123 Main Street. The contract and lending information have been provided for the seller's written approval on or before 24 hours of receipt. Closing and possession must coincide and be concurrent, or the contract's null and void. So this is going out and buying a property before your other home has closed, but you have a contract on it. So you're giving the people the option to go forward with a contingency. And again, that all the things have to coincide. People can decide if they want to make a double move, but if they don't, then we have to have a little rent back. And each state and each city is going to have different values that the real estate community goes by. And so it's trying to find that mix that's right between the buyer and the seller. Have you had some experiences, Margaret, putting together transactions with contingencies?
Oh, many times, Carra, as you have. There are times, just recently, I had a classic clients that wanted to move. They knew they wanted to move. They got their house ready. We put their house on the market. We had been looking at a few places for them to live. They were afraid to make the move until their home was sold. Then we got a contract on their house, and they were in total fear of signing that contract if they couldn't get the new place. And we were very fortunate, and this is where your real estate agents really come into play. It's not just your listing real estate agent that you're dealing with, it's the real estate agent on the other side. I was very fortunate to have a fabulous real estate agent that I could really talk to and say, look, my clients are concerned. They really want to sell you this house, but they have to feel comfortable that they can get the new house. Can we do either a delayed settlement, or can your kids move into their parents' house? So that it all worked out that way. But again, it's got to be talked about.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. I mean,
yes,
my clients were afraid to sign the contract on the new house without 100% assurance that their buyers could go to settlement. And what finally happened with that one is the buyers went to settlement on the house. And what the clients did is they took an equity loan and purchased the new place. So they only had that equity loan for a couple of weeks. They had money in place to move forward. So they moved to the new place and they were able to give the new buyers their home empty. Not everybody is in that position financially to do that.
So, and that's where this creative planning in advance to see how we can do it, and the discussion. The real estate markets across the country change, from buyers markets to sellers markets, and what's happening and how fast and depends on the price range and how fast they're turning, and the individual seller's situation. I have some clients right now moving from the very far south end of Denver up to the very north end of Denver. And so there's a big fear of, if I put my house on the market in such a hot market and I don't have a replacement, will there be one that I want? Because they only want in a 55 plus active adult community. And it's about the lifestyle. Having people that quilting clubs and book clubs and garden clubs, and that's what they're looking for, is that lifestyle and going into changing with their transition. So that fear, we have their house listed with the contingency that they find the replacement home. Now we are actually looking, getting pre-approved. I think that's a key part. Margaret was just talking about being able to go ahead and close with a bridge loan, is what we used to call it. And they are looking so that when they find that right house, they'll be ready to act, but they have no fear because they have the contingency in the listing side and in the purchase side. So when we looked at houses this past Sunday afternoon, the agents are calling and emailing for feedback. So I'm able to talk to them about, well, here's what's going on. Would your seller be willing to consider a contingency contract? And so dialogue opens, and either that seller is willing to do it or they're not. But viewers need to realize each individual situation is going to be different, but there are clauses that can protect you. And I have a video, referral from a client that when I was doing the consulting from people moving different states, he was going from California to Arizona and suggested this clause, and his real estate agent had kittens because they didn't want to deal with the contingency, but he didn't want to sell his house in Hollywood and not have something to go to in Arizona. So anyway, it all worked out, and he was so grateful. And everything, the real estate people learned as well that you can do it, but it does take work. It is not as easy as just having things with snap of your fingers. It takes a communication and respect for everybody's situation, and I think that's really important.
Carra, I think in some areas, it is a really, really hot market where they're having multiple contracts all over the place, and buyers are getting so frustrated, they just can't find a home. This may be the kind of contingency that could help your buyer get into a home that they love by allowing this kind of contingency, by allowing this classic client to move, to rent back, or even if the market's really that hot, that maybe they would allow them to stay in that home for rent-free after settlement, so that everybody works it out. Sometimes it's just not how much you sell your home for, but what the terms and conditions are. And I think with a creative buyer's agent out there, if you've got a buyer who's got some flexibility, maybe they are still living with mom and dad, or they're living in an apartment and they can extend that lease for another month or two to give that senior classic client time to take the pressure off of them. They know that their home is sold. Go to settlement. Let them stay there. Just think of how many more contracts buyers agents might be able to get through by having that kind of flexibility and not demanding a 30-day settlement, etc.
I think, Margaret, you're exactly right. And especially in our Colorado market, boy, anything that's really under 300,000, there's probably at least 10, if not 15 offers. I had one, we had 27 offers in 3 days, 142 showings. Now that took a long time to go through 27 offers, but it really was the sellers in that particular case. It wasn't about the highest and best and the cash deal from an investor. It was a family home. And both parents were in a nursing home, so the daughter she grew up in the house. Correct. So her vision was that this home would go to somebody who was starting out, and they really had a heart for veterans. And so they went through, and people are writing their story, their backstory letter that goes with their contracts.
And along with a picture of their children and
yes.
Children to grow up, and Fido needs a place to. Yes, we all get those letters. Be careful that the terms and the price are still good.
But so really it was. So if you're listening and you have a story, you might want to get it written up so people understand, because there are sellers who are not just about that highest dollar amount, that really that it's their gift in giving back to helping someone else get started. And so it really is a nice opportunity to go forward. Just like Margaret said, if you are a buyer in the hot market, like in Colorado, and you can let someone have 2 weeks to go contract for another home, it will be very helpful for your position in getting your offer accepted. And so this communication between whatever real estate agent you're working with is very important, so that you understand what you're getting into, because it's just really hard to be one of those 27 offers. How is yours going to stand out? And the seller will say, I'll take this one. So that's great. So Margaret, as we go forward here, I think one of the important things we have to talk about is trust. What would you say for people? How do they determine who they're going to trust when they're going forward with their real estate?
Wow, that's almost like saying, who can you trust? Well, the first person who says to you, trust me, or can I be honest with you? My first words back are, aren't you usually? But I think with the trust, you build that over a period of time. You don't just walk into the house and say, sign here. I think you have to build that up. You have to meet with people. Hopefully somebody else knows about you. Maybe you've had a friend who who has bought or sold a house. Maybe you can check with your attorney, your accountant, who's somebody that they trust that they would use, and talk to them a few times. I think the person who just wants you signing on that dotted line at the very beginning, just like Carra, when you go to an attorney, an accountant, when you go to a dentist, when you go to a hairdresser, within one meeting whether you feel comfortable with those people, whether you've got rapport with them, whether they're the kind of people that you can wrap around, they can wrap around you. Trust those gut instincts, but verify. How's that?
Oh, that's perfect, Margaret. And I think that one of the things that we have with the Transition Living Real Estate team is educational events every single month with accountants, financial planners, estate planners, organizers, assisted care speakers. And so you developed this relationship, and you can come hear them talk for an hour. And I think that's right. You can determine who it is you will be able to trust. And then here we've got our little, I might need somebody to talk to. That's just what you're talking about. When we actually are making this transition, there's a lot of things that you really just need to talk to somebody about. So helping get work with a real estate agent that you can trust and understands that it's not just about the house, and they will help you go right over that bridge, move over that fear bridge, because really that's what it is. It's just getting over that bridge.
Another way to really figure out who you can trust is to find someone like a Carra who does this transition moving and help with these kind of things, and say, Carra, people call me and say I'm moving to Kalamazoo or wherever. I've got a network of people in every state that I could pick up the phone and say, okay, this is the kind of person I need. I need somebody who's sensitive. I need somebody who works with classic clients. I need someone who can work with the different contingencies, who can do things a little bit out of the box. And that person, say if I were to refer that person, say if I had somebody moving to Carra's state, what a delight that would be to be able to pick up the phone and say, I know Carra is going to take care of this person like she would her own family member. And I think we have established that rapport with special real estate agents, not agents you just hand a referral to, but special real estate agents that we have sought out over our 26 years in the business and say, this is someone that I feel comfortable. I wouldn't refer you to this person if I didn't think they could take care of you. So I think that's where trust comes in. Finding the person who's referring you, that's the person you need to trust.
Margaret, I appreciate that so much. And no, I didn't pay her to say that. I think it's this, and we connected through blogging. And I think it's really important when you're making that who do you trust, by seeing what they write, what do they post, how are they reaching out. And I think when you connect with somebody, that you need to know that you're not alone. And so when you have that right real estate agent who can help you all along the way, you're going to feel that surrounding of warmth and honesty and truth. So we'll take that fear of the unknown, and we can keep our classic citizens from making a move that they could or should make, because fear is what keeps us from going forward. And when you get rid of that by understanding and knowing the contingencies and working with someone who says, if we want to turn right or turn left after we get going, it's okay, because it is about the classic citizen's life, not about a commission or selling a home. And I think that's what people that are working with the Transition Living Real Estate team need to understand, that it really is about your life. And so we'll just stop showing here and come back. And Margaret, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing the fear of contingencies and how unique a contingency can be, whether you're buying, whether you're selling, whether you need to rent back, whether you need to just leave your items in the house. That is fantastic. I think I'm going to talk to some of my investors about that, Margaret. What an idea. You know, here for our classic citizens, we have investors who will just take it over. You cherry pick your happy things. And by the way, we have a video on finding your happy place. And that's so the way you need to go to have fun, because I think it has to be fun. We can't make these transitions if we're not having fun.
Carra, I think what you are sharing, I think the people who are listening, if you are not in Baltimore or not in Carra's home state, but you're hearing this, and if you're a real estate agent, and if you feel like you would like to learn more about this, please contact Carra or myself, and you know, we will be happy to share this with you, because just like today, I don't think I've ever talked with you, Carra, that I haven't learned something. And what I say about Carra and I think we're best friends, and we've never even met.
Yeah, well, yes, we're cyber friends.
Right. But I know if there's anything that I could possibly need, either personally or in real estate or for my classic clients, Carra's there, and I bet she better feel the same way about
it. Mutual Admiration Society, Margaret.
Right.
Best-selling author and radio host. I love listening to your radio show. So we'll summarize up here and just let those of you who are listening know that when you're connected with the right person to help you through your transition, all that fear is going to dissolve, because those people are going to be helping you from the heart and concerned about the entire transition and working with your family and not alienating people. The whole picture is to open doors to communication and just having fun, having some humor. That's why we have our little guys up here. Our little monkey, to know which ones to keep, because some of them are used to say it's not my monkey, and now it's like, know your monkey, because you got to keep some of them, and you just have to keep your sense of humor. You have to have fun, and I just appreciate you, Margaret, and we'll look forward to our next show where we're sharing some ideas on how people can have balance in their transition and really look forward to going upwards with their altitude. So thanks again, Margaret, for being with us today.
My absolute pleasure. I love speaking and learning with you, and I look forward to our next transition living session.
Wonderful. Okay, peace. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.